These videos are support material for teachers, demonstrating how In the Ditch can be used as a behavioural management tool, explicitly focusing on issues around boredom, frustration and procrastination. PowerPoints are available for you to download and utilise. You may adjust them as you please. Please retain the reference to the author of the work. Thank you. Please note that the overall intent of this mini unit is to utilise In the Ditch with the focus on disruptive behaviour and how we can use In the Ditch as a behavioural management tool. We will be focusing explicitly on a final video in Lesson 6. The video shows Catherine Tate portraying an extremely disruptive student, a very highly capable disruptive student. You may like to open the PowerPoint now and follow along with me. Please note that it is important to complete the lessons in sequence from 1.1 to 1.6. Thank you. Lesson 1.2. Now I will quickly go through the lesson, remembering that this is just for support purposes only, and a brief outline of how I cover these lessons. Lesson 1.2, In the Ditch. Now you'll start this lesson by revising and reflecting on the previous lesson, and the previous lesson was focused on prior knowledge, the virtual backpacks. Go through maybe asking questions. What is prior knowledge? What's the significance of the virtual backpack? How did you feel when we watched the video? Did you switch off because you didn't understand? Perhaps we could start talking about this in terms of falling in the ditch. So now let me explain the origins of In the Ditch. Initially, I had created sentences to paragraphs programs and a writing program called Bauer Core, and the core was the editing and proofreading section. The basic proficiency scale, which was loosely based on Bloom's, was used for this. Through action research, the proficiency scale then evolved from a simple proficiency scale to what you see now. As the proficiency scale was created loosely around Bloom's, you will find that you can align this to Mazzano's work or any other work that has been created based around Bloom's as well. The wording is very simple and it does allow for individual teacher adaptation. So, linking into students' understanding. Let's refer to the previous lesson. Okay, students, if we are talking about the previous lesson, when you walked into class, I noted that many of you had never seen the actors before and did not understand the video. You could say that you were in the ditch. Now, the great thing about In the Ditch is if you fall into the ditch because you've never heard it before, you've never seen it, when you're in class and your teacher is focusing on these topics, such as the video we watched last lesson, many of you weren't sure about the whole thing when you walked in. So having never seen it, never heard about it, as soon as we started watching it, I stopped the video, I started it again after explaining, and then straight away you're at step 2 out of that ditch. You've heard it now, you've seen it, and you can repeat back to me what it was about. So that's level 3. Within that one lesson, we went from level 1, never heard it or seen it, to level 3. So from a teacher's perspective, I'll break this down now. Step 1, never seen it or heard it. Step 2, the great thing is if students are paying attention, and this is the point you can make. Guys, if you feel like you're in the ditch and this is why you're not paying attention, remember, if you keep listening and paying attention to class, straight away you can be at the step 2. You've heard it and you've seen it. However, if you sit there and don't pay attention, you can actually dig the hole deeper. But simply by listening or paying attention, you're at level 2, step 2. Level 3, know it. That is essentially them repeating something that another teacher has told them. So a rote level of learning, something that you've said previously, they remember. Step 4, explaining. This is where they need to explain it in their own words and give examples from other texts. So this demonstrates a deeper level of understanding. Step 5 is where they apply it in their work when they create their own text. For example, similes and metaphors. In step 4, they were able to explain in their own words what these were. They were also able to give examples from texts that they have seen previously. But when it comes to applying, if their assessment says you need to incorporate figurative language such as similes and metaphors, they are then able to create their own, able to explain and break down what their examples mean. Steps 6 and 7 are the more difficult levels. Attempting to make connection for level 6, so they may be able to attempt to make connections within their own subject area. Step 7, transferring, showing deep understanding, being able to transfer their knowledge from one subject area into another. Before I wrap up this instructional video, I'd like to explain where the concept of combining a proficiency scale with a visual in the ditch sort of concept came from. From the proficiency scale, I found that with a classroom of mixed abilities, I had a number of highly capable students who did not connect very well with the proficiency scale because they deemed themselves as not needing the help that struggling students did. And then I came across a story from a colleague who was talking about a story they'd heard where a student had gone all the way through primary school and high school, cruised through, no effort, straight A's, got to university, failed the first subject, and then just gave up. Essentially, they had never fallen in a ditch, so to speak. After relaying that story to my highly capable students, they then started to come on board with the whole concept of the proficiency scale. And from my own perspective as a reflective practitioner, I realized that by combining the ditch with the proficiency scale and embedding that story within the concept of the proficiency scale, that helped me connect to every student in the classroom. It helped me explain to them that whether you are an A student or an E student, as long as your effort is an A, what your result is does not matter. So if you are an A student and your effort is C, that's not acceptable. If you are an E student and your effort is A, that is brilliant. At the end of the day, the goal is for you to all be independent, reflective learners who focus on filling their own virtual backpack with the information that they need. With the use of In the Ditch, we can explicitly focus on behavioural issues around boredom, frustration, and procrastination, all of which stem from how students see themselves as learners. I hope you enjoyed this video. The next video in the series focuses on prior knowledge required for context in relation to the final video around disruptive behaviours in Lesson 6. I hope you enjoyed this teacher support video. Thank you.